and dynamic Elise Doctor. Before we bring on the sister and Dr. Keftisa Akiba, let us tell you something about Sa'ak Productions. Sa'ak Productions is committed to continue the struggle of the liberation of African people. By that we mean by challenging the narrative. We're a small organization looking to grow and spreading the narrative of African culture, history, and the idea of functioning outside the box. We're about sharing information to teach, to inspire, to help us believe and be able to create. There are a lot of changes going on in the world right now, and Sa'ak Production looks to be part of the light to help us see clearly, helping us to help us to answer questions like, how did we get here? Or where are we going? And how do we need to get there? It is the brainchild of Dr. Keftisa Akiba, and it's a commitment of our ancestors as far as doing our best to make the world a better place than what we inherited. It's about uplifting our people and sharing information. And to do that, we do need your help. We do need your help. We wish to expand into the community and be able to help the community and the needs it has. But again, to do that, we need help. We need donations to bring on programs like this we're doing today, and to bring on future programs. And again, being able to reach the community, get involved in the community to help. But again, this cannot be done by ourselves. We do need help. You know, it's like a fountain which the people like to come to drink from. But the fountain does need maintaining. And we need these contributions to help maintain the fountain so everybody could drink from it and everybody could benefit from it. So if you can find it in your heart to help donate and support Sa'ak Productions, you know, it'll go a long way. It's not just for us, but it's also for you, the community. So find it in your hearts to support Sa'ak Productions and what we're about, and what hopefully you're about as well. Before I do anything further, I'd like to bring on Dr. Keftisa Akiba, a scholar who sat at the feet of great scholars like Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Amos Wilson, Maulana Karangan, so many more. He has taken the information they have given him, he has studied himself, and continues to give back to the community. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Keftisa Akiba.
Okay. Hetapur, everyone, peace. Welcome, you found yourself in a peaceful place, and we wish for you blessings without number. Now, I have to say that I'm very excited about today's lecture. I'm excited because we're going to bring you a sister who is excellent. We had an interview with her a couple of weeks ago, and I received astonishing feedback in terms of the information, the spirit, and the heart which she brought into the whole conversation. And one of the things that's really important is that we, as Caribbean people, need to focus in on our history. But this sister is not just a historian. She's somebody that's doing work on the ground in Haiti and has been doing so for a long time. So we need to support this sister. We need to support this sister with the work that she's doing, and we need to expand our network of people. So without me going in any further, I'll bring back Brother Jawanda, but I want to say to everybody, do not take people like this sister for granted. Do not take them for granted, because in many ways, we don't understand what it takes to bring this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to our people. And so with that, look her up, support her work, and support the fact that she is teaching us to remember who we were so that we can be who we are supposed to be. So with that said, let's get the introduction going and let's look forward to hearing one of, in my estimations, one of our brilliant sisters. She won't say she's a scholar, but to me, she is. But in truth, no, she's more than that. She's somebody who just brings it and makes you think about how you relate to yourself as an African person.
Thank you, Dr. Keftisa Untold. A brief bio on the sister. It is Untold. She is a human rights and international attorney, law attorney, and an award-winning playwright, performer, performance poet, and cultural activist. She was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and is raised in the United States. She's a Haitian scholar and runs the It is a network, the Free Haitian Movement, the Haitian Lawyers Leadership Network, Zilizé Design, Zilé Delo, Clean Water, Renewable Power, and Skills Transfers for Haiti. Elizé is an author of 10 plays and 2 book series. She regularly conducts Haitian teach-ins on the non-colonial narrative of Haiti, of its riches, resources, natural resources, revolutionary culture, voodoo spirituality, and her expression of performance production. Elizé was featured in Haitian Scholar, Historian, and documentary of 1804, The Hidden History of Haiti. Sister was just recently awarded the Connecticut Woman Hall of Fame for her lifetime of justice and cultural advocacy and work. I present to you the scholar, the revolutionary, the activist, Sister Elizé Untold.
Honor and respect. Thank you so very much for having me again. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that today, people who don't know about what the Haitian Revolution has done for the world will now have at least a starting point, because some of the work that I'm going to share with you today is, you're not finding it, you won't find it anywhere else in the world. Today, I'm going to be talking for some 90 minutes. We are going to cover not only what happened in 1492, but one of the things that I'm known for is going beyond that to who we were before the Mahafa and the Holocaust started. And I hope that we're going to talk about, let's see, the importance of Haiti. And I will show you some of the revolutionaries who have said how Haiti and what we did have inspired their work. We're going to find about the women of the Haitian Revolution, a little bit about what we're doing right now in my newest play, which is about the women of the Haitian Revolution. And so let me begin by sharing this screen with you, if I can. And I hope that during the question and answer session, you can all right, so share screen. One moment, and let me do that. And so, you all know, not only am I a human rights lawyer who's been working for a long, long time, but when I work, I always turn it into a play, and I'm going to share some of that with you.
Senti ma paix monter, Sénégal, Haïti. Zili nanana. senti ma paix monter.
Would someone let me in so that I can see myself? I think I have tried to join in. Do you see me? If you do, I'd appreciate if you would let me in so I could see myself. So I see what the, I have two computers, so I can see what the audience is seeing, okay? So that's me. I think I just used the same link again, just to come in.
SP sister. Oh, can you hear me? Hello, Azili. Can you hear me? Sorry, you're on mute now. You're on mute now, sister.
Hello, you guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, your screen was showing and it stopped showing. The audience.
Okay, for some reason I can't hear you,
Okay.
but I just want to let you know that I'm trying to get in on another computer so I can see what you guys are seeing. So if you would let me in on that, on that computer, I'd appreciate it. I think I used the same webinar link. And I'm trying to join in from my browser.
Okay, sister, I will try and sort that out for you.
Thank you.
Possible, no problem, sister.
All right. Okay, did you guys hear any of that before?
Yes, we did, sister. We heard it loud and clear and it sounded beautiful, so.
All right. This is about the warrior mother. This is about Jean-Jacques Dessalines, the greatest hero to us who ever lived. He is Haiti's founding father. This is about the generals Toussaint Louverture and Henri Christophe. I hope to humanize them for you today, not just dates, but to show you what they stood for and what they accomplished. Now, since I can't see my screen, am I sharing? I don't know.
Sister, you're not sharing at the moment. If you go
Okay.
down bottom of the screen, you see share.
Did you get the link? I mean, did you get my all right, so let's see. We gotta get ready here. I need a little bit of music. All right, and some fire. We gotta begin with some music and some fire. These are my, I'm on Twitter, Azali Dantal. We have Free Haiti Movement. Please go on Facebook. We have about 15,000 people. I'd like to have 100,000 soldiers. Please, we are standing on truth and living without fear. Azali Network, people. And so, let's see what I can see. And then I will move it. All right. So, Azali Dantal is the name of the warrior mother. Azali Dantal is the vibration that represents the archetype of the mother, though that who gives birth. And in Haiti, we don't use pictures of humans or avatars of human to represent vibration and an archetype, an irreducible essence that repeats itself. So the nurturer. But these are some of the, this is in Ghana, their Rezili, you see a set, you see the Black Madonna. And so let's see here. Why is Haiti the world's favorite disaster story? That's what I'm going to tell you today. Is Haiti really without any natural resources? Is Haiti what they say it is, which is poor, the poorest in the Western Hemisphere? I hope by the time I'm finished today, you will see some of our riches and value some of our riches. I used to say for the last 20 years that the template for neocolonialism was that the European tribes, they use buffer races in between us and them. So the Anglo-Saxons either use the mulatto races or same thing, the Syrian, Lebanese, Israelis. That's who we have in Haiti. Even today, after the United States has essentially participated in getting rid of their own puppet, which was Haiti's last president, we still have, even as they tell you they're about to come and invade Haiti to help us, they really care about Haitian human rights. That's why they spent $13 billion on earthquake money and left us with cholera and 30,000 people dead and 100,000 sick. Excuse me, not 100,000, 1 million. So as you watch the news right now and you see what they're saying, I want you to go and do your look. We have Haiti, even as the United States right now has asked Jamaica to come and clean up the gangs. If you look at the homicide rate, Jamaica is the murder capital of the Caribbean. And this is a template that they use, and they did it back in the 70s, and it works for them. They got the Lebanese, they got the Eurocentric Negroes, K-N-E-E-G-R-O-W, who just let the people live out in Trench Town, live out in spaces where no resources, where poverty is a violence. So, but we still, even after 20, well, since 2004, the European tribes came back, right? It was 1804 we got our independence. 2004 was our bicentennial. And this white man is vicious. He came back on our bicentennial because he is trying to reverse the work that you're about to see that our ancestors did for the entire Black race. But we have less violence than Bahamas, than Jamaica, than Brazil, than Mexico, and some US cities. And the violence right now is where the white man is, Port-au-Prince. Not any other place at all. Well, you know, the Port-au-Prince, the Republic of Port-au-Prince, this is where they are. So they had a UN Chapter 7 for a long time, and they want to give us charity when Haiti has billions and billions of resources. One of the common things that they always say about Haiti, I want to show you, they always say, for instance, right? I'm gonna tell you some of the lies, right? They always say that we have one of the most repeated facts that they tell you all the time is that Haiti has 2% forest cover. Well, that is not true. Haiti has the same amount of forest cover as the United States and France and so on. So what else are they telling us that's not true? Well, the reason why the European tribes constantly try to destroy Haiti is because we made them kneel. We are the only people on the planet, that ever had a successful abolition of slavery, a real revolution. And this is Rochambeau. It's a picture of him. He is he's the general after Leclerc. And we're going to learn a little bit about this rabid dog that he said he was going to make Dessalines kneel. He said he was going to skin him alive. All right. Who has Haiti helped? The last battle, the battle where we actually beat 3 European powers. We had already, Toussaint Louverture had already beat the English and the Spanish. But that last battle is called the Battle of Vertières. In the Battle of Vertières, and our win has influenced struggles in the Caribbean and cannot, in a way that in Africa, in a way that cannot be overstated. In fact, the Haitian Revolution inspired all Black freedom struggles, and even Greece came to us, Mexico came to us, Ethiopia came to us, and we helped them in their liberation struggles. So Haiti has done a lot, but that is not the story you're going to hear, right? You're going to hear, of course, about poorest in the Western Hemisphere. But I want to tell you too, that our story didn't start with oppression. Our people constantly waged war against their oppressors. Haitian Revolution teaches us a lot of lessons, but most of us don't want to learn those lessons. At the time of the Haitian Revolution, it started in 1791. After 13 years, we won our independence. At that time, the other so-called revolutions, the 1776 United States Revolution, and then you have the French Revolution in 1789. But both of those countries wanted to maintain slavery. And Haiti is the pioneer of human rights in the world. Haile Selassie wrote a piece I encourage you to look at, which inspired Bob Marley's song, War, right? And in that song, he says, until the philosophy.
Another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. War!
Yes, war. Until that philosophy, until racism. So we are the resistance. I am Free Haiti. The Haitian Revolution influenced Nat Turner, Gabriel Presser, Denmark Vesey, Charles DeLong, who actually came from Haiti, and he had the largest rebellion trying to take over New Orleans. All of these people, right? Gabriel Presser was a blacksmith, and he called on the spirit of Ogu, which is the spirit now that we call Jean-Jacques Dessalines, the father protector. A little tidbit is that Nat Turner's mother was a Haitian woman. The Charles DeLong revolt was in 1811, and DeLong led an army of 200 to 500 militants, and they went to try to get some rights. You all know that there's a place you can look up in America called Hayti. It's in South Carolina. Until she spoke. So amongst the other people, Frederick Douglass always talked about Haiti. He wrote Haiti. This is an excerpt from his lecture where he talks about no Christian nation had abolished slavery. As a matter of fact, there was the good ship Jesus, right? I want to, since we want to tell you how the Haitian Revolution was a lot of different Africans coming from different places. So Boukman, who was the first leader of the Haitian Revolution, came out of Jamaica. And we know that Marcus Garvey constantly wrote and said about how the Haitian Revolution inspired him. He wears the red and black because of Haiti. His mentor, Joseph Robert Love, a Bahamian born doctor, spent some time in Haiti. Who else? Immigration, for instance, like I was telling you about this idea of the mulatto races, they used those after slavery everywhere in the Caribbean, the Chinese, the Indians, the Syrians, the Lebanese, the Jewish, the South Korean. So the whitening continues. And right now, that's the whitening they're doing in Haiti. In Haiti, okay, the billionaires of the Caribbeans live there, right? They're less than half of 1% of the population, and they own more than 95%. Some people say 98% of the wealth, right? Some of you may not know, but Sierra Leone and Liberia, these places where folks went back to, were created to squash the influence of the Haitian Revolution. Kwame Ture said that, let me see if I can put.
Haiti brings pride to Africans who know
Like-
history.
Haiti brings pride to Africans.
In 1803, Haiti was the most democratic country in the world. It was the only country in the world that did not allow slavery on its borders. The only country in the world in 1803.
In 1803. So the repercussions of beating 3 European powers, the world powers at that time, 50,000 soldiers from Britain were killed by the warriors who did the Haitian Revolution. Another 60, 70,000 French, and then the Spanish. And because of that, we freed millions and led to many, 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 the early abolition of slavery the world over. Okay, but now we live in a hostile American Mediterranean. The United States, Britain, France, all of those folks, they live to destroy Haiti. We are crucified since 1804. This is maybe about a couple of years ago on the streets of Haiti with the Canada flag, the US flag. And you see and the French flag, right? The people are saying how crucified they are. Today, there's a group of ambassadors in contravention of the Viennese Convention. They have come together as one. It is 6 nations, right? And it's, like I said, a violation of the Viennese Convention. The United States, France, England, Germany, Brazil. And then they have all of their Bretton Woods organizations, the EU, which then, is all of Europe, the UN, which is 193 countries, and of course the OAS. They keep giving us fake aid, fake elections, and it's all dictatorship. So how do they do it? They militarize the police, and they give very poverty-stricken Black males rewards of passports and guns and drugs to kill their own. I want you to see on the streets, US, stop supporting drug dealers, kidnappers, robbers, bribers against the Haitian people. This was in a major Haitian newspaper. And you see to the right there, the billionaires of the Caribbean. There are the Haitians you will never see anywhere. They are the modern overseers. Gilbert Bijou is the representative for Israel in Haiti.
I think it was Malcolm X who said that the Negro Revolution is run by foxy white liberals, and that the Black Revolution is run by God. Okay, Bookman said something. So the God within you, he says, listen to the voice of liberty that's within. All right. So we're talking about a spiritual people who had no fear of death, who ran into cannons, and at that point you have 2 things to remember: the Wakaima call. It was in a Kikongo language. Remember, they all spoke different languages, but they got together and this was the call. E Mabumba, Kanga Mandele, Kanga Bafyoti, Kanga Najoki, Kanga Yo. And what it meant is that the supreme God, the master of breath, will give us the strength to take our liberty.
That
Sister,
is the Wakamima call. Yes.
I'm sorry. Were you supposed to be sharing the slide as well? Your PowerPoint, because we can't see it.
Oh, thank you for telling me. I did not know. Oh, my goodness. All right, then. That's what I was trying to get on the other computer, but I guess I'm not in. Okay, let's see. Wow. Where are you? I see me. Okay, I see you more. Where is the share? Share screen. All this time, you guys have not been watching it, huh? Oh my goodness, let's go very quickly. You haven't seen any of this?
I can see it now. Thank you.
I wish, yeah, thank you, you're welcome. All right, I'm just gonna go very quickly so that you get to see what you didn't see. All right, the kneeling to Rochambeau, the general for Napoleon that Dessalines beat. And we talk about the influence of Vertières, the last battle, on Kwame Ture and so on. And then I played a little bit of the
Cause until the balance into its old one race superior and another inferior is
Nat Turner, Gabrielle Pressy, Charles DeLong, Until She Spoke by Frederick Douglass at the lecture on Haiti. These are all the people that Haiti has influenced and who have influenced revolution and thinkers all over the Caribbean in the world. We talked about Joseph Robert Love. We talked about Liberia and Sierra Leone, which were spaces that the European tribes try to push Africans to so that they can dilute the importance of Haiti.
Haiti is a very, very,
This
very,
is,
very important island
Stokely
in the Pan
Kaimaku,
African struggle.
very important in the civil rights movement.
Haiti brings pride to Africans who know history. In 1803, Haiti was the most democratic country in the world.
So as I said, we have millions have been liberated because of the achievements of Haiti, right? 5 Latin American countries. Dessalines gave $40 a head to every ship captain who would bring their cargo to Haiti. And something as a lawyer I want to point out is that the first US Supreme Court challenge against slavery in New Orleans was done by descendants of Haiti. And so Garvey says, a people without knowledge of their past history, origin, culture is like a tree without roots. We are crucified. Actually, this is a picture of an actual Haitian when the European came back in 1915. The leader, Charlemagne Perrault, the US Marines killed him and then did this to him and nailed him up so that they can chill out the effect of the resistance. And so we are continually crucified. This is a modern photo of Haitians on the streets talking about the core group, a coalition of tyrants made up 6 nations, including Brazil, Spain, but you see him like carrying Canada, the United States, and France. United States, France, Spain, England, Germany, Brazil, and then you have the EU, UN, and OAS. Like I said, they create these paramilitary groups. They fund them. They give their families visas so that they can escape the hell that they have created in Haiti. And then they have them try to stifle dissent. This was the poster I was talking to you about, where on the streets of Haiti, Haitians are saying to America, stop supporting drug dealers, kidnappers, robbers, bribers, and the Haitian people. And you see the billionaires of the Caribbean, these white folks, mulatto folks from Syria. Bijou is from Aleppo, but he is the representative.
Like, I think it was Malcolm X who said that
And you guys already heard this.
Revolution.
So one of the things I want to tell you is that the template for European neocolonialism is very simple, right? They have the Black collaborators, that's the neocolonialism. They have the overseers, so that, they keep the distance as if they are diplomats, okay? At Bois Caïman, the Haitian said no. And they said no to all the priests who were trying to be foxy liberals. And I'm always saying this constantly, that the liberals avoid confrontation. They're so invested in the system. What they do is prolong our Holocaust. I prefer the wolf because I know where I am with him. At Bois Caïman, this was the Bois Caïman call.
The God who created the earth, created the sun that gives us light, the God who holds up the ocean, who makes the thunder roar, our God who has ears to hear. You who are hidden in the clouds, who watch us from where you are. You see all that the white has made us suffer. The white man's God asked him to commit crimes, but the God within us wants to do good.
Yes, the God within us. So in Haiti, a family went to war, and they said, this is the song that they sung as they ran into the cannons. There's no mothers here, there's no fathers here, because the family went to war. If we lost, we knew we were going to die. It's interesting, I always say this little tidbit. The song that the Haitians sung as they ran into the cannons to beat those three European powers, a Frenchman in New Orleans used it, and it became the first classical song of America. It's called the Banadier. But that's not what we were doing. We were saying Grenadier à l'assaut, Saki mouri zafeya yo, nan pren maman, nan pren papa, Saki mouri zafeya yo. Two battle soldiers attack. Don't worry about those who will die. There are no mothers here, there are no fathers here. Attack. We will avenge all who dies. And that was the song. So our story, the heroes, the martyrs, all of them are demonized, dehumanized, and dismissed, especially Jean-Jacques Dessalines. He said, recall everything I have sacrificed to fly to your defense. I've sacrificed children, relative, wealth. So now that the only riches I possess is your freedom. Recall my name horrifies all enslavers and tyrants, despots everywhere. Well, his name did. His name did. And the law that he gave us was Dessalines' law. It says, never again shall a colonist or European set foot on Haiti as landowner. That was in his 1805 constitution. Okay. So I'm gonna, the French proclaimed, like when we won our independence, the newspapers wrote this, that obviously Jean-Jacques Dessalines is illiterate and a savage. This is written in their books, they say, that's what they said. They said that it was a white man. Obviously it had to be a white man that wrote that constitution. So that's what they said. And the mulatto sons of France, Pétion and Boyer, they ended up assassinating Jean-Jacques Dessalines 2 years out in October 17, 1806. We won our independence in 1805, 1804, January. But even those Eurocentric mulattoes did not reinstate slavery. But what they did do, though, they were very Eurocentric, and they made a law that forbid the name of Dessalines to be spoken. So during the time that they were in office, which is about 37 years in the beginning of the Haitian Republic, you could not say Dessalines' name. This is the reason why we spent a lot of time telling people that our founding father is Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and there are Haitians everywhere, but you're never going to see this. I wanted to show you that people were asking me about, how can I learn about Jean-Jacques Dessalines? There's a documentary by Arnold and Antonin. You can find it. It's about Jean-Jacques Dessalines. It's in Creole with subtitles, right? And it's called The Man Who Defeated Napoleon. And on February 18th in Miami, there's going to be a wonderful musical by Yol De Wos. And that musical, she's going to talk about 10 extraordinary women of the Haitian Revolution, including Ana Kaona, which you're seeing the replica here, and many, many more. This is Carole Demisme portraying Abdaraya Toya. Abdaraya Toya is the woman that actually went back into slavery to help Dessalines, to train him to become a soldier. She came from Dahomey, and she was a Nadoji, a Mino. Always understand, okay, that we deal with all the elements of creation, the 5 elements of creation. And I could not do without telling you, I'm gonna go, because all right. So 1492, there were 5 different lords on the island of Haiti, as far as we know. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what came before Haiti. But we had in 1605, the Palmares in Brazil, which was a Maroon community that had been there and kept their freedom for almost 100 years. And I always like to tell people about that, because it came before Haiti. So the first place the Bringers of Doom put a colony in, that was Haiti. When they came with the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, well, the Santa Maria is the one that landed in Haiti. You're seeing a picture here of Queen Ana Kaona, and that's a replica, of course, of Cacique Henri. So they put their first fort. It was called Fort Navidad in Haiti, and Kaonabo, the husband of Ana Kaona, it got rid of that because they were essentially enslaving the people and raping the women. This was a Haitian over there, and Hautre, he said, if the Spaniards go to heaven, I certainly do not wish to go, because the priest was asking him as he was trying to burn him, would he like to be baptized? He said no. Picture of Zumi and Dendera from Palmares. The Haitian Revolution started with this sound, the conch. And all over the north of Africa, of Haiti, they had planned this. But before this, let's look at Blacks are original to the planet, and we were in the Americas before Columbus got there. There's a book I always talk about. It's called Haitian Annals, The American Nation by Constantine Samuel Raffinex. And they talk about identifying the Blacks that were in Haiti. As a matter of fact, the name Taino comes from that book, but the European only tells you about Taino. He does not tell you about the Black Caracoles, the Guaninis, the Camis, the Olmecs, the Mayans. You understand? He only tells you about what he thinks is so he doesn't tell you about it. And I wanted to tell you, and I wanted to tell you that you can actually find that book online. It's called let me go back. The American Nations. And I'm reading. So I want to tell you that when Christopher Columbus came into Haiti, there's a little tidbit there of knowing that there were Egyptians and others from Africa who had sailed across the ocean. But I know you already know about the 1300s. So I'm going to go back to Solomon's time, 970 to 931. The African, since we don't talk about Black women, the African Queen of Sheba. There is a lawsuit that came against Christopher Columbus by the captain of one of his ships. And in that lawsuit, the captain said that he was the one that was telling Christopher Columbus about this landmass and how it was fertile and abundant. And you will find this is called the book and the research is called The Secret Archives of the Vatican. This is an old map. So you can see that there was a landmass in this map showing Atlantis, right? The Caribbean, the legendary continent of Atlantis. So this was a trade route for the Queen of Sheba, who pretty much ruled ancient Ethiopia. And according to this book, this archive of the Vatican, there were Black settlements in the Americas in that time, in Solomon's time. And like I said, Secret Archives of the Vatican. This is a picture that I created showing the Queen of Sheba, Makeda, across the Red Sea. The pillars of the great oval temple once bore my name, Bilquis, daughter of the moon, here to the west, porticos. So you will never learn about this, and I hope that I'm giving you some references. So Christopher Columbus, Queen of Sheba, the name of the captain, he was the captain of the Pinta. His name is Martin Alonso Pinzon, okay? And I took a picture. This is from the secret of the Secret Archives, and it talks about that one of Columbus's officers, the able but rebellious Martin Alonso Pinzon, captain of the Pinta, who had helped fit out the ship and recruit seamen for the enterprise, later felt that his services had been inadequately recognized and rewarded by Columbus. So in 1515, 9 years after Columbus's death, an inquest was held as part of Pinzon's suit against the Columbus family. In the course of it, Pinzon's son swore that on a visit he and his father had made to Rome, his father had called on a friend who was a cosmographer at the Vatican Library. And his friend had lent him a Hebrew document from the papal library, which said that in Solomon's time, it was believed that the Queen of Sheba had sailed out of the Mediterranean into the Atlantic, and there, 95 degrees to the westward, by the easy passage, she had found a land called Saipanso, which Pinzon, they always thought, it was somewhere in the east. They did not really know about the landmass. So I wanted to share that with you because I wanted to go talk to you about the ancient civilization, why the United States today is in Haiti. There are pyramids under our waters. And because we don't have control, we have a lot of Europeanized Negroes that they put in office. You won't see it. But this is Belize. The reason I'm showing you this is because this is a pyramid in Belize. And it's the Caracol people, the Black Caracoles. They lived in Belize and they created this pyramid. I would imagine that the one that's under the water in Port-au-Pet in Haiti might look like this, but I will show you one that's actually under Cuba. It's called the Blue Pyramids. These are the pictures in that pyramid I just showed you. There was a this came from Dr. Imhotep's book, The First Americans Were Africans, and these are the black caracals. And if you see the second line in IET, we're still the same people. They're playing that klaxon, and this was found in that temple that I just showed you that's in Belize about the caracal people. This is the underwater picture that you can Google today. Sunken pyramids that are off the coast of Cuba. And you can find the first Africans were, the first Americans were Africans because there's Egyptian artifacts, Dr. Imhotep's book. These artifacts were actually found in the Americas. But something very, very important. This is what I'm pretty much known for a lot, because Dr. Mathurin and Dr. Vixamar, some of the Haitian scholars, what's in IET changes world history. This is a rock with some sort of writing on it, and it's carbon dated 35 to 100 million years ago. Okay. And remember, IET is a name that means it's both African. Remember, Africans were already here, probably way before the Chinese got here and intermingled with the blacks and created the Tainos. You understand? I went back to Solomon, but now I'm going back 35 to 100 million years ago. Kemkok is an ancient artifact, a Haitian rock monument with carvings made by inhabitants between 35 to 100 million years ago. And I gave you the source. What's also important is the iridium, okay? That pretty much goes viral all the time. In a place in southern IET, we have mountains of it. You see this map to the bottom right? I don't have a bigger picture of it, but the green is where 66 million years ago, an asteroid, there was some sort of galactical war going on. And you know, you guys, my references, the Dogon people and Kedar Mutwar of South Africa. But you could see beneath IET and beneath these landmass, there's a big crater. And where you see the green here at the bottom, right? These are all the places where there's iridium. Iridium is a heat resistant stuff. And this is
Haiti has an extraterrestrial material is found nowhere else in the world except South Africa, and it's the purest in Haiti. 65 million years ago, an asteroid landed in this space.
Okay. And you guys, of course, we have the deepest caves, the largest, richest heritage. So like I said, it was women, children, everybody went to war, right? I was going to share with you guys, you can find it. It's called the Haitian Maroons. And the Haitian Maroons will tell you some of the things that was happening to Haitians. You can find the Haitian Maroons online, all right? If I can find it, because I am, let's see if I can find it. If I find it, okay, I will show you what kind of life the Haitians were facing under these barbaric planters by Jean Fouchard. Can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes, sister, we can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, thank you. So the Haitian Maroons, okay? You can find this for free online, all right? It's like 1850 something, written by a Haitian, right? Because there were over 500,000 Africans went to war. When you read the books of the Europeans, they only talk about Dessalines, Toussaint, and well, they don't talk about Dessalines at all. But I wanted to show you that he took actual ads And I was going to read, maybe I'll read just one. He took actual ads just to show you how we were treated, right? So right here, for sale, Kazo, soon leaving the island, has for sale a Black woman, beautifully corpulent. These were the most promiscuous people, the greatest rapists, a good laundress, a breastfeeding mulatto boy, available also on a trial basis, to be sold at Cap Gouvernement by a lot of, or individually, 80 males, free of mortgage, and 6 females. For sale, a 40-year-old slave woman, a good housekeeper, and her Creole mulatto son between 20 and 21. This is the life. This is what we got rid of, okay? And of course, you know, the runaways. He says here, like I said, you guys can find this, okay? I'm just showing it to you. Zabeth, I'm always talking about her. She was in Igbo, 5'1". She has scars, like she ran away 18 times. And according to the Code Noir, whenever you ran away, they chopped off one of your limbs, her ear, her hand, her foot, and she just kept running away. There's one more I was going to show you about. This is from the in jail, right? So when they find folks like this woman here, they say, a new slave, 17, completely naked, short, arrested and brought back from Spanish territory and later to Fort Dauphin. No idea of his name or his master. So you can read about how the situation was for us in Haiti by going to the Haitian Maroons, and I am more than happy to give you more references if you're just beginning your education on Haiti. But let's look at the Haitian women of the Haitian Revolution, okay? I am about to share, and I'm gonna have to go a little faster here. Now, can you see my screen?
We can, sister, we can.
Thank you very much. All right. Macandal in 1758, he was burnt at the stake. Okay. People always say that the Europeans, when they're writing their story, they say that the Haitian Revolution was started because of the French Revolution. But listen, 1758, Macandal, okay, he poisoned thousands of Europeans in his bid to get rid of slavery in Haiti, and they burnt him as at the stake. But his wife was still alive for 1791. So as I said, we had 1791, beginning of the Haitian Revolution, over 500 enslaved Africans, 28 to 30,000 mulattoes, and just 40,000 white colonists. The free Blacks were called affranchis, okay? And Macandal, this is a statue of Macandal that's at the Normand de Mézières plantation where he was at. This is a rendition of his wife, Gun Brigitte, right? And so inside that peristyle, that Vodun temple, they still remember Macandal. And that's just inside that. Every year we go up to Bolkai Mumble Inan. This is the Laku. This is where the Haitian Revolution meeting. This is the area, this is the exact space where the meeting that began the Haitian Revolution started. And you guys, I've already talked to you about Bookman. And I'm going to go, you see, this is that area. Oh, let me just tell you, right? You see inside that rock, the people knew of spaces inside the rock, and they sometimes lived underground, just like the Adojis had war underground. Kretapiewo was a famous battle of the Haitian Revolution in 1802. And the military strategists of the Haitian women of the Haitian Revolution from Dahomey, because a lot of soldiers were coming, and they went underground. That's how they were able to do this guerrilla warfare. They went underground, they went behind the Leclerc troops. And so the women of the Haitian Revolution came from various tribes, right? But I'm going to just talk about two. But there's, the Akan were there, but let's look at the Congo and Queen Nzinga's people and the Dahomeans, right? So, I'm not gonna, this is me and, but I'm not going to, you guys can find this on YouTube.
Quiet. Sister woman's body don't feed no one now. Sister woman's body doesn't feed anyone now.
So the Haitian women fought back. The Congo, I'm gonna find this, Abdaraya Toya, Dahomean warrior, African trainer. Now remember, this is how they did it, right? Each plantation had a makeshift hospital. These women were older. They were the midwives, the herbalists. Okay, you guys know the wife of the leopard, and I put these pictures here to click into your mind these archetypes when you see Black Panther, right? And we're gonna see later on the picture of Henri Christophe's citadel, and it's in the form of a leopard. The Adojis, the Amazons of Dahomey, were called the wife of the leopard. You see? So this woman, Abdaraya Toya, what they did was they took the children and they formed them to be revolutionaries. And Jean-Jacques Dessalines, the greatest hero to ever live, was taught how to fight hand-to-hand combat by this warrior. And I put this picture of Woman King so you can have some sort of reference point, and know that they were generals. So this woman was a general. She wasn't in the French army. She did not wear an epaulette, but she fought. And her name was Abdaraya Toya. I'm just going to do three for you. Dédé Magritte is conceivably at that time the most famous, even in slavery, right? The reason why she's so special for me is that for a long time, I didn't study her because I did not like the Catholic Church, because Bartholomew de la Casa, the Dominican order, is the one that started the slave trade in Haiti, the Mahafa for us. But circumstances made it that I had to. I was representing, as a matter of fact, a pedophile, and he was part of the Catholic Church. And I started deeply going into their stories. And that's part of how I found these women. They were called the Dedes, okay? And I'm going to go quickly because I want you to see. So during the day, the planter saw them as passive, as even they worked in the in the convent, and their job was to show these mulatto and free Black women how to be chaste, because the European is so ridiculous and insane. He thinks that the reason why he's raping all these Black women is because it's their fault. So he wanted these elderly women to teach them how to be chaste. These are three women that were taught by the elder women. The one in the front is Marie-Jeanne. Then you have Sanit Belair, and I'm going, what do you call it? So Sanit Belair, Marie-Jeanne, you have Marie-Claire Wurs, who was the wife of
Henri Christophe, right? He was the second most powerful general after Toussaint was kidnapped by the French and brought to the Jura Mountains where he died. Then Dessalines took up arms, and along with the Maroons, who you can read about, we took our freedom. But here is a project. This is my next play and a film that I'm doing. And this will be, I will stop after this. Okay, here you go. Colonists and enslavers in Haiti were defeated and destroyed from within by a sector in the slaveocracy that they never suspected. This is a story. I'm gonna start again. The colonists and enslavers in Haiti were defeated and destroyed from within by a sector in their slaveocracy that they never suspected. This is a story about the Daydays and the Minos. The Daydays were from the Congo, and the Minos were the Adogis from Dahomey. They had been fighting the enslavers in Africa. And when they got to Haiti, they started a revolution in 1791, and within 13 years, they had created a new moral high ground for planet Earth. But these are the women, the Daydays and the Minos, the mothers of liberty. It's the Haiti story you've probably never heard. These women were formerly enslaved Black women, negresses they called them. And they were part of the Catholic Church, a laic order. No way did the enslavers ever believe that these women would be training those who became the heroes of the Haitian Revolution. And indeed they did. They were essentially put out to pasture. They were supposed to be only teaching the young Black girls, the free Black girls, Christian values. And instead, they brought them to Vodun ceremonies and taught them how to survive, how to fight militarily, how to become good wives, how to become what they became, which was the heroes and soldiers who fought alongside Jean-Jacques Dessalines and Henri Christophe to free Haiti after 300 years of European enslavement and nearly over 1,200 years of Arab Muslim enslavement in Africa. These are the women that you will not hear about. What the Dahomean Adogis and Minos from Benin, from Oyos, from the Yoruba tribes, what the Congo Queen Nzinga and Prophetess Kempavita didn't achieve in Africa, their descendants in Haiti achieved. They freed millions. And the slave trade, contrary to popular belief, wasn't stopped because of the British. The British were beat by the men and women of the Haitian Revolution. 50,000 of them died in Haiti when they tried to maintain slavery there. And it is because of that, they stopped the slave trade, not slavery. Jamaica still was filled with slavery, but they stopped the slave trade so as to not import any more militarily trained women and men into their colonies and stop another Haiti from happening. This is their story. And Professor Small will be talking about it because he has been there as I was writing this story. And so after he saw the Woman King, he was reviewing it and he mentioned this story, which happened about 100 years before. Actually, Woman King is on 1823 or so. Haiti was already free, had already beaten 3 of the greatest European powers of that time,
in many US embargoes. They had beaten the French, the Spanish, and the British. So this is the story of a woman that they never suspected. Her name is Dede Magritte, and the mothers of the Haitian Revolution, that her and Gran Giton and Abdaraya Toya and Mambo Inan trained.
And my
Right.
sister, Ezele Danto, is trying to get a piece out here. She's calling it the Dada. It's about some of these
Okay.
women.
Yeah, I
Women
know
from
her.
Dublin. And
Yeah,
they went
Danto, I
to
know her.
Haiti. Yeah,
Mhm.
she's an extraordinary sister. The
Mhm.
pre-Haiti movement is what she's the head of. And these women, many of whom was a part of that fighting force, who've now been captured and sold into Haiti by the French. They've gotten old, broken down, can't have sex no more, they can't be abused no more, they can't work in the field no more. So the Catholic Church takes them, according to Ezele Danto. These ladies, they call the Dada, and they put them in a church lay organization to convert other young African enslaved women to Catholicism. But instead, these very ladies, these former warriors, train the leadership that become the women's leadership in the Haitian Revolution.
Right.
And many of the women they trained marry the very generals we see as the heroes in the Haitian Revolution. This thing is bigger than you think it is.
Okay. I
There's a
have,
story that's going to come out soon,
oops,
written by a sister from Haiti,
thought I was finished.
and it's called the Dadas. Now, the old ladies on the plantation where I live was called Dada when they got old.
See, I didn't even know that.
Dada. The Dadas were the Black women who had gotten too old in Haiti, because according to Ezele Danto, they had gotten too old to work anymore. They had gotten too old to be molested and have babies or sex anymore. So the church took them in and made them lay leaders to try and teach the young girls how to be good Christians. Well, these Dadas are the women who end up teaching all the Black women and Mambos who launched the Haitian Revolution.
All right, people. I have much more. You can ask me whatever questions, and if I have some, I was going to show you some of the mulattoes and how Rochambeau, how these white men were so jealous of the Black males, really, honestly, okay? At that time, during the Haitian Revolution, right? You know, their greatest sports was fencing, swordsmanship, right? Well, let me tell you people, okay, story they will never tell you, right? The greatest swordsmen in France at that time was a Black man, a mixed race Black man. His name is Joseph Boulogne. Even more interesting is that he, some say, was having an affair with Marie Antoinette, the wife of the king. Imagine how someone as racist as this little petty Count Rochambeau, who essentially, what did he do? They put us in the halls of ships and then put sulfur and gassed us. This was before Hitler, right? Haiti is the place. They used to feed us to dogs. The Code Noir. This is a picture of the husband of Marie Antoinette, the king who was, and then they would have other Blacks, just like right now, they have given gangs free reign, right? So that they can kill you and keep you so in fear that you can't think about resistance, right? Well, that's what this picture shows, right? They went and got dogs from Cuba. They trained. This is like, how could a human being train dogs? They gave them Black flesh, got them used to it, and brought them into Haiti. That's why after our independence, if you look at the 1805 Constitution, and if you look at the November 29th, those are two Dessalines edifices, right? Because you're not going to find very good information about Dessalines until I write that book, okay? But I've been saying all the important things about him, right? His law, the Wakaima call, the fact that but one important thing I want to get to very quickly, so they used to work us to death, essentially, right? Making this sugar, right? Haiti made more money for the France than all 13 colonies of the United States at that time, right? And so, and then of course, you know, they would rape you to make property for their, and then when the Haitian, when the Bastille, the French Revolution, when the Bastille was stormed, I want to go here for 1 second before I say, let me stop for a minute. When you see people writing about Jean-Jacques Dessalines and how supposedly savage he was, right? I want you to look at Dessalines' 1805 Constitution. He left us two big edifices, right? His Declaration of Independence, and his Declaration of Independence on January 1st, he says to all the white folks, why the hell are you still here, right? And remember, they had just came from this was a campaign of extermination. Napoleon, the greatest general who was conquering all of Europe, was beat by barefoot Africans. You understand? Okay, this is something that their academics still can't get over. Okay, they can't get over that, right? So they have to say that the Haitian Revolution was tyrants replacing tyrants. So they will focus on the agricultural work that Toussaint Louverture, Dessalines, and Christophe were forcing the people to do. They will not focus on the whole view of how many people who were not even, they were livestock, breeded like mares for 300 years. And even though we were breeded like mares for 300 years, when that man whose back was filled with lashes, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, okay, because he was an alpha man, and you know, it was hard for him to take slavery, right? So here, this man, when he became Emperor of Haiti and he did his 1805 Constitution, okay? I'm showing you this picture here because I hate the fact that they keep connecting us to the Jacobins, right? And I want to show you how much more advanced we were than the Jacobins, right? Right here, this is a woman. So in their revolution, so-called, the replacement of monarchy, the assemblies and they create something called the Declaration of Man and the Right of Male Citizenship, right? So a female by the name of Olympe de Gouges said, well, how about us? How about us white women? So she did a declaration. This is, I think this probably is the first European sort of feminist declaration. It was called the Declaration of the Rights of Women. And you know, she gave the same rights that women were, she asked so that women would have the same rights. Well, the Jacobins guillotined her. Now let's look at what Dessalines did. Dessalines let Rochambeau go and 7,000 defeated soldiers of France go. I'm always wondering why the others, there were some left. And after the Declaration of Independence, in that declaration, he says, don't celebrate Africans, don't celebrate Blacks, right? Because Haiti is the only place that a white man who is honorable and a warrior who fights for liberty can be Black, because Black goes back to the Incas, goes back to the Mayas, right? We're that people. There's a lineage that we had that Gantoya taught Dessalines, right? That Boukman's mother taught him, and so forth, right? So in Dessalines' Constitution, I mean, I'm a little mad at Dessalines because I didn't see him writing about Black women. And sometimes, you know, black males take us for granted, right? But in his constitution, while France and the Jacobins were doing their reign of terror and cutting the head of this woman for asking for basic rights, Dessalines specifically gave property rights to white women and their children. And it's the only constitution that actually says white women. And so we're going to stop right here. Thank you, everyone. Oh, wait, one more thing. I thought I took this off. Guadeloupe, there is a, they reinstated slavery there. And I always want to tell you guys about the mulatto of solitude. The French threw her in prison. She was pregnant and killed her. Okay. The pain of Black women continues as you see Tyree Nichols, right? As you see George Floyd. This is a pain we have been dealing with for a long, long time. In this picture, those males that these children are the children of Marie-Louise and Henri Christophe. His son, the 11-year-old son of Henri Christophe was being educated in France. When he sent his armada to bring back slavery, he took that child out of school and essentially had him murdered. So that's Marie-Louise's son, okay? And then later on, when the mulattoes took over, and they took over after Henri Christophe became the king of Haiti in the north and Pétion was in the south, 2 more of her children died, her 2 sons. So we keep losing. And I have here to the right up there, this is the woman Défilé. And Défilé is the woman who gathered up the pieces of Dessalines, because when Pétion and Boyer and his crew had Dessalines assassinated, this woman, she was the person that furnished, along with Suzanne Louverture, she would furnish the army. You see, these women were agriculturists. They brought the food to the at the front lines, and she is the one that gathered the pieces and buried Jean-Jacques Dessalines, gave him a burial. But the reason I have her in this frame is because this woman lost in one day to Rochambeau's troops 2 of her sons and 3 of her brothers. Okay. Dahomey was a very important part of the Haitian Revolution. Toussaint Louverture was the son of a Dahomeyan prince. Abdallah Toya, who taught Jean-Jacques Dessalines, was an Amazon, a Nino, right? That's why I have this picture here. So that's that. So, and then when Henri Christophe had his kingdom, he sent for warriors from Dahomey, and they were called the Royal Diomettes. Just so you know that this is our story that you will never know by anybody. So I've already talked to you about the mulatto children and how they were killed. There was, of course, I talked about Joseph Boulogne. Joseph Boulogne, not only was he the most celebrated, recognized swordsman in Europe, and this is a mulatto, right, from Guadeloupe. He was also a master violinist. He essentially was the Mozart before Mozart, or Mozart is the Joseph Boulogne, right? And there's a story coming out for him. Now, I'm not into all of the white women and all of that stuff that they dealt with, but what's important, the reason I bring these men up is because they were At that time, we were 3/5 human in America. We were livestock in Haiti, and we were forbidden to have an education. Yet you give these two men, right? The Black Count, right? This is the father right here, General Thomas Alexander Dumas, the greatest literary author of France was his son, and he came from Haiti. And so there's going to be a movie.
Welcome to Paris, Joseph.
Joseph, he went to
Monsieur, I
Paris.
fear this will not be a kind place to such a boy.
Boy has talent, but one in particular that is exceptional.
The reason because we don't have a picture of what our people look like. So Marie Louise's son was sent to Paris to be educated, just like Joseph Boulogne from Guadeloupe was sent by his father, right? His white father sent him. But that young man was killed by Napoleon and his crew of rabid elites. And you guys know that the wife of Pauline, these people were slavers, right? Pauline was the sister of Dessalines, the sister of Napoleon, and the wife of the general that was brought in to bring back slavery to Haiti. As a tidbit, right? She was one of those, whoring folks, because that's what the upper class did. She was having an affair with the aide de camp, the secretary of her husband, which was another mulatto. Imagine, right? I just told you, Joseph Boulogne allegedly had an affair with Marie Antoinette. Boyer had an affair with the wife of Leclerc. You understand? And then you have this Black general. So these are all the reasons why they wanted. They always trying to say that the division is between Black and mulatto. They never tell you how much they hated the mulattoes. Rochambeau, one of the acts that he did was like I said, I gave you some of the reasons why he would hate the mulattoes, right? Because they were Toussaint Louverture was a general that had beat, Spain and England, right? So, and I always like to say Susan Baptiste Louverture. She was this is this is for you, Dr. Keftisa. You asked me about Toussaint. Toussaint built this right after slavery. It's called the Citadel. I'm sorry, not Toussaint. Henri Christophe. Henri Christophe built this. He was the builder. Henri Christophe. You asked me about Henri Christophe. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. And I'm here for questions.
Wow, sister. Yeah, that was just wonderful. There's so much in what you said. I'm gonna talk to you afterwards, but I have to say, and I really mean this. What I love about your work, sister, because oftentimes I have been told by Black people who are conscious, brother, you're too rough. You're too rough. You're too, you should be more, I don't know, whatever, because I don't want to try and find a word. But what I liked about this was you showed the cruelty of the European to African women, African children. And one of the problems that we have today, one of the reasons why we don't have our heads on straight is because we don't know this history or we ignore this history. And you, as a sister, bring this in a way that forces one to look at the reality. I am so proud of what you have brought. I am so proud of your passion. I am so proud of your commitment to your people. because I know myself. And you told me, sister said, don't apologize, brother. Make it plain. You are a warrior, sister, but you have that mother principle running through you. And it is so important for us to see these African women who trained other African women and other African men. I'm going to keep my mouth quiet, but I just couldn't allow you to do such a wonderful presentation. I said to you in the interview, you've got so much in your head. We're going to filter that out, beloved, because what you have in your head must be brought to the people. And we must help you to do that. I'm looking for these books because I have at least 20 books on the Haitian Revolution in my library. And none of them, and I'm even going to say Carruthers irritated genie, I'm not attacking, I'm saying none of them touch what I have heard tonight, not in the slightest. No disrespect to anybody. So I say to you, beloved, I really want to hear more of this, and I want to make sure that you are given the honors that you deserve, because this is no light piece of work. I'm doing a piece of work on enslavement right now. And when I tell you, and you know this, sister, when you start reading about what was done to us, it takes you to a place. And if you're not careful, it can bring up things in you that you wouldn't even want to surface in terms of your thought process when you see what was done to our people. So I know that you are carrying a weight, and we're going to take some of that weight off of your shoulders so that you can do the work that you're doing. And I just send nothing but honor and praise to you, my beloved sister, for doing this piece of work. Most people are afraid to talk about enslavement. Most people won't deal with it, but you've been dealing with this for a long time. So I'll keep my mouth quiet at this point. But I'm telling you, I never heard nothing like that from no man or no woman. I've never heard it. And I'm just so grateful. And we will work. We will do some work. Honor to you, sister. So, Brother Jawanza, if you can take it from here, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Keftisa Akiba Ankh. Sister, I do concur with Dr. Keftisa Akiba Ankh. Sensational, sensational, sensational. Thank you for your presentation. It was mind opening, and as Dr. Keftisa Akiba Ankh said it showed the horrors that was done to us as a people. And we need to keep in mind that these are the same people. There's nothing's changed but just the age and the time, but it's the same techniques. And as soon as we realized that we could deal with them and learn to look at ourselves for solutions instead of looking for them for solutions. But we're going to do some questions and answers. If you have any more questions you'd like to ask the good sister, please put it down now. First question is, when is your book coming out?
I know. It's trying to juggle everything and resources, I work a full-time legal job in order to do this. But I'm going to do it. I hope that when it does, I'm doing the film first, excuse me. And I hope that when you see that, you will support it. I'm not a marketer. So that's my bad part. I'm not a marketer, but I'm looking for those who might be interested in my work and who have that kind of skill set.
Thank you. The next question, how important was the collaboration of the African man and African woman in the liberation of Haiti?
It was crucial. Without Abdallah Atoya, the mother figure who took the children, and this is really critically important, right? She took this child in slavery and others and trained them in the military arts that she knew back from Dahomey, right? She took them to the mountain. My first scene, for instance, you guys know I write plays and that's how I started. But my first scene, for instance, right, is like a slave ship comes into the port of Cap-Haïtien. But coming down that mountain is a 12-year-old Jean-Jacques Dessalines with his adopted mother, the general, the Abdallah Toya. She just did an initiation, right? And the Maroons in Jamaica and the Maroons in Haiti, the biggest hunt was wild boars. And that's my first scene, right? He's taking down a wild boar. This man was powerful. This guy, right? To become the greatest, that's why they're not showing you Jean-Jacques Dessalines. He was really powerful. So not only do you have women saying, and this is hard. Imagine your child. You are going to groom a child to go send him to almost certain death. I want you women to think about that in this day and age, because I am tired of seeing Tyree Nichols calling the Black woman. All right. And the system that's killing us. And we seem to just be very passive these days. But these women, the Dedes, they were in the church. Imagine that, right? Dede Magritte, she was known as a great healer. She people who had epilepsy on the island would come everywhere to her. She had a Vodun temple. She masked it as a Catholic temple before slavery. Before slavery was ended, during colonial times, right? So we don't have to tell the white man everything we're doing. These are lessons, all right? They planned this revolution. They knew that folks were going to talk, but it's only a small group of people like Dede Magritte, Abdallah Toya, and I'm going to say two males. You understand? Okay. They were free Black men. Those two males bought out of slavery. Listen to me, people. Lessons of the Haitian Revolution. Okay. If you're working for corporate America right this moment, okay, you're going to have to create the next generation that's going to do this. They saw something in Jean-Jacques Dessalines and they saw something in Henri Christophe. Okay. The woman that Henri Christophe ends up marrying, her father buys him out of slavery and treats him like a son. And he had an inn in Cap-Haïtien called La Couronne. And it was in that inn, when you read my book, that they're all in the back listening to the Rochambeaus and the planters talking about, what's happening in France and so on, right? They're taking notes. We had a spy network. Marie-Jeanne, as my good friend Baena Bello, right, says, right? She was a master strategist and spy and sniper. Okay, these women were trained by the Dedes because they went to school. So those two men, right? Marie-Louise's father, right? They say his name. They don't even give you the right name. I'm gonna say Quadavik is his name. So he bought a young man out of slavery who became one of the greatest generals. That was one of greatest what do you call it? The edifices. If you go to Cap-Haïtien, you could see he had a palace that rivaled that of Vertières in Paris. He built a fort that you saw a little bit of for 20,000 soldiers because they were getting ready
to face the European trying to come back. Understand? And he lost so many sons. His 11-year-old son sent to France, killed by Napoleon and his little short-minded people. Dessalines, his last name, is the name of the Black male who bought him out of slavery. Okay? These are lessons. His name is Jean-Baptiste Dessalines. He after Abdallah Atoya, he must have, in my book, we don't know all this because they don't tell us our stories, and our stories is not written. But Abdallah Atoya would not have let her son literally, go to a man that she didn't know. I don't think. Okay. And I'm sure she arranged it at a certain point in his development when he became a fighter, when he knew what slavery really was about because of the lashes on his back. Then she arranged for her friend, Jean-Baptiste Dessalines, to buy him out of slavery and teach him what? A craft. He was a carpenter. He helped build the churches and stuff that's still in Haiti. That's why when Dessalines did his constitution, he said, you have to do something, you have to do it, everyone has to do a trade, because this Black man showed him a trade, a way to make a living when he came out of slavery. Okay, these are important lessons. And so I say their name, Jean-Baptiste Dessalines. You understand? Just like Abdallah Atoya, he helped create Dessalines. But he was a free man. He didn't have to.
Thank you. Another question tying into male-female relationship. How does this relate to today's man and woman relationship?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The question was, how does this relate to today's man and woman's relationship?
How does this what?
Well, the relationship between the African man and African woman and the liberation of Haiti, how does it tie into today's African man and African woman's relationship?
Okay. This is a free Black woman you're talking to. Okay. And guess what? I don't know. This feminism, it never been something that I walk into a room and I own it. I'm sorry. That's just the way my energy is. So I don't have that problem. Well, sexism exists, of course. Okay. I'm a lawyer, and the whole system is, the Abrahamic patriarchy and all that, the murderous male cults. They love to tell you all kinds of things. You guys, I touched that a little bit, but yeah, of course, part of neocolonialism, part of imperialism is to deceive, divide, and conquer.
Yes.
And they've been very good at that. Okay. I used to represent a lot of hip hop artists back in the day when I was doing that. And it was awful. I couldn't do it. By 1996, I was done. I went to Haiti, and it was like, going into fry pan into the fire. But I'm saying that to say that music is very important. And we are a rhythmic spiritual people. We used to be light beings back in that 66 million years ago without an avatar. You understand? And I think that Black people are very close to that in a way that maybe the Neanderthals are not. But Black males have this, a lot of them has adopted the ethos of the culture, of the dominant culture. So, I see them once in a while talking about, I want my woman to be soft. I want my woman to be, so my energy probably would be male for that beta male. So for me, right, this is the situation we're living in. When Abdallah Atoya saw what was happening to children, like I see right now, what just happened to Tyree Nichols, right? I'm ready to take my sword out. And if a Black man's not there, he's not there. But I don't see that anymore. I see another vibration now. Like I said, my generation, they went into glorifying crime, and, the European put them in a position where he gave them rewards to be thuggish and that kind of stuff. But there was always going to be like me, like I lived in that space in that time. You understand? And I looked at the intellectuals, like I'm going to say some names, Michael Derek Dyson or Cornel West. Those people are disconnected from their source. They're so busy trying to be celebrities, right? When that next generation needed what the generation before, the generation of Malcolm X and the generation of Dr. King, like they put their life on the line for us in different ways, but they still did. So for me, I think that I see a vibration going on right now where Black men in America, at least, are listening, because Dessalines in his constitution said a good Black male is a good son, a good father, and above all, a good soldier. Honestly, lately, I've been seeing a lot of Black males talking about raising their children. I've seen it. And this is what I want to say to Black women. We are spiritual beings. Yes, we have pain, but if you focus on pain, all you're going to do is create more pain. So I want you to focus on that vision that you want and project it. Because that's what they did to Haiti. They keep saying we're the poorest in the Western Hemisphere. And then, all Haitians start believing it. And then it became an actuality. It's becoming an actuality. So when they say there's a problem with Black love, I want you to look at Dr. Cress Welsing. Black love is the most powerful thing on the planet. Okay. Of course, they're going to want to try to destroy it. So see it from that perspective. And the brothers, I think I run the Free Haiti movement, and 90% of the people are males.
Thank you, sister. Question here, it reads as a statement and there's a question at the end. There were Africans who were in Caribbean who traveled there in ancient times, but others were brought there through enslavement. What I understand from your presentation is that the revolutionary were the enslaved. What part did the original African play in the repulsion, if any? I guess in the revolution, if any.
The Maroons. They were the Maroons. Parts of it, when they went up into the mountains, into the caves, and they spent hundreds of years there. I mean, as late as the 1960s, I remember going to the laku of my parents in Haiti, and they would say to me, there used to be these Maroons. They refused to live in the grind. Like they never used money. And this is one thing my father used to say to me, that as soon as you start, that his great grandfather said, as soon as you start using their money, they've got you. So yes, the history books say that the Tainos, right? But that would bring the Black Caracals, the Guanini, the original folks that were on that island, were all liquidated. But I don't think all of them were liquidated. And I think that they were ancient people. They lived in harmony with nature. There's something that I've been looking at for a long time. I think a lot, and there in Vodun, there's a song, and it's about how after the revolution, a lot of the warriors left because they didn't want to stay in the space of like urban, like in the urban areas. They went back to the mountains, or the songs are always talking about how they left, right? They would establish a space for their descendants, and a portal where they would say, this portal if you need me, you call me, you pour libation, you do this, and I will be back. Remember, we were ancient people who were more spiritual, who could walk through realms. And Kedar Mutwar and other folks like the Dogon, they talk about how there was a vibration, like just I told you, there's a vibration coming right now, and it's almost here, where Black men are not going to want to be thugs anymore, right? They're not going to fall into that, because there's more. There's a vibration, a different vibration. At that time, they felt the vibration that was coming with the Neanderthals. They knew it was coming, and I believe this is a hypothesis. There are cities in Mississippi. There are cities in the Yucatan that just disappeared. You understand? So, and I know that from our legend after the Haitian Revolution, they said a lot of that spirit that had came just disappeared. I don't know if I answered the question.
You know, it's interesting because you talk about the vibration that's causing men of African descent to stand up. Perhaps maybe this influx of pushing snow bunnies on Black men is a way of taking out that vibration, removing them from that vibration. You know what I'm saying? Next question. Given the legacy of slavery and the legacy of its maladies that presently affect us as a people to this day, how do we effectively eradicate and heal from the disease that permeates our being?
You're halfway there because you recognize it. And then there's rituals that you do, right? You do rituals. You do rituals. And it's a constant discipline thing, right? You're very careful about what you put in your body, what you put in your eyes, what you put in your ears. You know, all that you imbibe is going to affect your energy. Who's around you? You know, I used to be an athlete back in the day. And if you're on the treadmill and someone comes to, you know, and you have like a normal time, you know, you've been doing this for, 45 minutes, for X amount of time, right? If somebody comes to you and they're slow, inevitably, you will slow down. You understand? So be careful who's around you. Make sure that they're at the same frequency level, or at least aspire for that frequency level. And if you can't, if the person around you don't have it, then, that's what books are for, right? Because the mind can go places. This avatar doesn't have to come all the time. The mind can go places. Lift up your energy level and be careful about those who are bringing it down,
I have a question for you too, sister. Can you elaborate on at the point of the after the revolution, and I read something that Haiti was divided into two different different nations at that time. Can you elaborate on that for me, please?
Yes. So 13-year war, we beat 3 European powers, and now it's 1804. There was the mulatto sons of France. The European had children to use to gain property. He still does. Okay. So he had his children, and then he would sell his children for voyage here. So he would sell the mulattoes, right? But some would send them to France to get an education, but they expected them to come back to protect their property as something called maréchaussée, as soldiers that would go out into the bush and hunt down the Maroons. Okay. So 2 of those people, 3 of them, Rigaud, his name is Rigaud, Boyer, and Pétion. When Napoleon sent that armada of over 50,000 soldiers just coming from, conquering Egypt, right? His very best, right? In that ship was that first diaspora, because the diaspora sometimes is the enemy of the local space that he just came from, right? So in that ship were 3 mulatto generals, Rigaud, who Toussaint had already fought and Dessalines had already fought, Pétion, and Boyer. When they saw what Rochambeau was doing, and they realized that this is remember, civil rights were given to the free blacks at a certain point during the Haitian Revolution, okay? Civil rights, the right to vote, right? The right to wear the same clothes as white people. They didn't have those rights. The mulattoes, they might have been the children of, but they, the white man is petty, especially the working class white man, right? Because he looked upon these, half breeds and these free black people as being lower than him because he was white. And so all of a sudden, the revolution happens and they're giving rights to just black people who are freed, right? So in that space and in that ship, those men came to help Leclerc and the French. They considered themselves French citizens. When Dessalines, when they saw what Rochambeau was doing with the mulattoes, Rochambeau had a lot of, well, they're not mistresses, okay? He was, he was always sleeping with black women. But apparently, he never made it as he wasn't as popular as Boyer and Pétion and all those men. And this is very, very, it might look like it's like gossipy, but it is very important to what happened in Haiti. And it continues to be most important, right? When you have these gladiators taking these white women from these, white males. So Rochambeau, essentially at a party, he invited all the mulattoes, women, and then they had a good time, and then they went to the next room. It was the heads of all of their husbands, right? That was Rochambeau. So Pétion and Boyer realized that this man is going to kill us too. So they made a deal with Dessalines. At Vertières, that last battle, they were not there. Okay, they did not fight. They were not at that battle. Dessalines' big mistake is when they won the revolution, he invited all the generals, including the mulatto generals. And since the mulatto generals are the ones that wrote Haitian history, they elevate Pétion and Boyer as a founding father. But no, they killed Jean-Jacques Dessalines because they said that the property of their parents, because they couldn't inherit. They had to go make their way by themselves, even though they were mulattoes and they were free. They couldn't inherit, right? But once the revolution had happened and the blacks won, you understand? Then they say that they are higher than the African slave. And they want the mulattoes said they want the property of their parents for themselves. Dessalines said, no. How about the Africans whose father are in Africa who lost so much? They're not going to have anything from this revolution? No. We're going to equitably divide the riches of the country amongst everybody. And for that, he was killed by the mulatto sons of France. And they killed him October 17. And when they did that, they tried to rope, because when he became emperor, the greatest general became his second, which was Henri Christophe, right? Henri Christophe. So they tried to get Henri Christophe to participate in their assassination, and he did not. But they told him that they were going to make him president. And then they took all the power of presidency and essentially was going to make him a puppet. So he said no. And he took his troops and he went to the north. He left the mulattoes in the south. And that's why there were two countries. And for, I think it was from 1812 to 1820, he had a kingdom in the north. And Pétion and Boyer had a republic in the south. And of course, you know, now you have all the vultures around, right? You have Britain, you have the United States, you have France. They're all trying to come back to Haiti, and you have Spain in our back. So, and of course, who are they going to support, right? Britain was supporting, supposedly, Henri Christophe. France was supporting Pétion. And they just kept dividing and conquering and conquering. Eventually, Henri Christophe was killed, and then the whole island became one under the Mulatto Sons of France.
Okay.
Thank you.
Keftisa,
Yes, sir.
if we could end the questions now, if you can make a couple of comments, and then I'm just going to finish out, if that's okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Sister Elizidanto, I should thank you again on behalf of South Out Productions for such a magnificent presentation and sharing the knowledge with us. Hopefully we will take this knowledge and not just feel good about it, but apply it to our lives. That's what's more important than anything, is applying it, applying the information, applying that what was done by our ancestors from Haiti, taking the knowledge they had from Africa and applying it to a liberation front. Same can be done today. So I wish to thank you on behalf of South Productions. And I wish to reach out to the audience and stating again, this was a wonderful presentation. We'd like to present more presentations like this, but we need your support. We need your support. We need your donations so we can bring other scholars and historians on, like Sister Elizidanto. And I would be remiss to say we have a scholar amongst ourselves too, Dr. Keftisa Akiba-Ankh, who will be appearing on the Sister Shanice show this Wednesday at 3 o'clock our time, but 8 o'clock British time. We're giving a powerful presentation on African male-female relationship, part 2. So if you can make that and attend it and see Dr. Keftisa Akiba-Ankh and what his work he's doing too, as far as working towards the liberation of African people and helping us to see outside of the box, challenging the narrative. So sister, I thank you on behalf of Sa'Ankh Productions for your wonderful presentation.
Yes, yes, yes. Sorry. You know, there's a saying amongst the Yoruba, and I always remind myself of it, that no one loves Ogun except in times of war. And why I say this is because often in life, when you have the kind of knowledge that this sister has brought to us, our own people are afraid of us. Sister mentioned Francis Quest Welsing. In my lecture, I was looking at a number of people: Amos Wilson, Dr. Amos Wilson, Francis Quest Welsing, Malcolm X, Khalid Abdul Muhammad. And why I was going to use them is because what we really see is the fear in African people, that we are afraid to embrace our history. We are afraid of those people who bring truths to us that arouse something inside. Because one of the interesting things of listening to this is how, even though we can see the brutality of a particular group of people, yet at times we still somehow think that they are not who they are in terms of their practice. And that's when we drop our guard and get caught out, because we become unclear in terms of the reality of what we have seen. You know, they say that if somebody tells you who they are, and I say that in terms of their actions, then believe that's who they are. So what I want to say to this beloved sister is, and why I cut down the questions is because the sister's got to rest. Go through.
Before we go, can I just want to, there's a couple of slides I just wanted to finish with.
No
just so I
problem.
Can I
You
do
can
that?
finish with them. You can
I
finish, no
appreciate it.
problem.
And then, yes, I really would like to, because just to show you guys that things that you're never going to know, probably. And I want to complete this work for the ancestors, because that's who I work for, right? For the ancestors, because sometimes my own people are not there yet. They're just not there yet.
So have you got the
So-
slides there, sister?
Yes. I'm about to.
Okay,
do
so
it.
I'll let you finish those slides and I'll finish what I was going to say.
Okay, let me navigate this space here, share screen very quickly. I didn't do it. I don't want it to be like that. Why didn't it do it? Let me just do it one more
You
time.
got it now. You got it.
I did.
You've got it. Yes, I can see in front of me.
All right. So, right now, people, there's a Holocaust going on. And I've told you that Holocaust has been going on everywhere for Haiti for a long time. So we are the resistance, and it continues. But as I close, I want to show you Jean-Jacques Dessalines gave $40 a head, because there's so much division happening right now in America and so forth amongst us. So when he founded this space, he said that all Haitians are Black. And if you are Black and you were you were enslaved, all you had to do was put your foot on this island and you would be free. Okay. And then, so I wanted to show you that Henri Christophe, for instance, right? There were 145 enslaved Africans that ended up in his waters, and he sent his people out. He freed them, and he said, it was 145 Africans were released from Portuguese slave ship Marie Jose, which landed in Cap Haitien. The ship originated from Cape Verde, right? And I want to also show you that Prince Saunders, an intellectual in the U.S., he came to be an advisor to Henri Christophe. So we are so meshed together. And even the mulatto sons of France, who were so Eurocentric and who thought themselves to be better than the Africans, would not bring back slavery. Okay. And this is a letter from Pétion, right? The guy who killed Dessalines. And he's saying to Jamaica, because an English schooner ended up from Jamaica on his shores. And he made his soldiers send the vessel back. But he said, according to the Constitution, that was Dessalines' Constitution. He says, according to 44 article of the Constitution, I can't send you back these people, because as soon as they set foot here, they are free. You can find all of this information on my Twitter. Please go and help it. Finally, before we finish, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that the Haitian Revolution, unfortunately, also helped double the size of the United States, triple, actually, more than triple the size. It created, when Napoleon, the greatest general, died, right? I mean, not died, lost, okay? Leclerc died from yellow fever. He had to sell the Louisiana Purchase. And you see this landmass, you see how big that was? All there was the 13 states there. And he sold that whole place. And you see how far the United States. So, but for the Haitian Revolution, okay, the Americas could have been French or British, you understand? And and when they tell you that we are the poorest in the Western Hemisphere, is because the only reason France recognized our independence, they made us pay to them 10 times the amount Jefferson paid for the Louisiana Purchase. So Jefferson paid 15 million francs for all this territory that made 15 states. Haiti is not even as big as Rhode Island or Vermont. They made us pay 10 times that amount, and it took us 122 years to pay for France losing my grandgrands. So I can talk the way I need to talk because I know what my ancestors had to deal with, the road they made for me to be here and for you to, okay? Not only did we say all blacks, all mulatto, there's no mulatto in Haiti, there's no mixed race. Every Haitian, even if you're white,
What is the Polish spirit? Whenever I'm asked this question, I like to tell the story of Haiti, an island in the middle of the Caribbean, which was colonized in the 15th century and then turned into a massive sugar plantation to which hundreds of thousands of African slaves were brought. It was one of the most lucrative and wealthiest colonies there were. At the end of the 18th century, the slaves rebelled. And in 1802, Napoleon Bonaparte, the French leader, decided to reassert French control over the island and sent the French army. Alongside the French, he sent a Polish legion. The Poles had recently lost their country. It was partitioned by the Austrians, the Prussians, and the Russians. And the Poles were fighting alongside Napoleon in the hopes that they would regain their homeland. It was only upon arrival in Haiti that the Poles were informed of the nature of their mission, to put down a slave rebellion. This reminded the Poles of their own struggle against their own colonial powers who had taken over Poland. That is why they switched sides. They abandoned the French and joined General Dessalines, fighting alongside the slaves, and contributed to the creation of the first free Black Republic. When the Haitian Revolution was won, General Dessalines, who took power in Haiti, recognized the Poles, granted them in the Constitution full Haitian citizenship, and gave them the classification of Noir, of blacks. To this day, there are many Haitians who have blue eyes. That is because the Poles settled there after the victory, and there are many Haitians with the very Polish surname of Zalewski. That is the Polish spirit.
And here's what, thank you. I thank you all who are listening, and I hope that this gives you a platform where you can go and learn more at the Free Haiti movement, because I've been on this field for so long. I looked at the nation state, and I know that the nation state doesn't work for Africans in the way that it's used by the European powers. So we have three solutions, and this is the three easily dumped up points for a new world. Of course, you know, that's like being ironic, right? The old world, the new world. This is the Columbus language. I don't actually use that language. One Western Hemisphere passport, because we have paid one minimum wage, because if the minimum wage in Haiti, Jamaica, Bahamas was, nobody would leave. Nobody would come to be anywhere near these people. And all of Haiti should be a World Heritage Site, a sacred sanctuary like Monaco, a place where you, Bill Clinton cannot come and take our property, our gold, our oil, our riches, or excavate the black caracoles up there and take all of the artifacts and go put it in their basement somewhere. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. So thank you very much for that. What I would say is, it is always good. And I'm only sorry that you had to rush through a little bit of that. Those last three slides are very important, and it's very significant that you showed them. But I'm not going to really talk any longer, because the important thing here is to remember who we are and where we came from, and to recognize that we need to rebuild a new future, and that the heroes of Haiti, heroes and sheroes of Haiti, live within us. We are part of that ancestral legacy. And what we must do is continue these stories, but we must recognize that history is not merely for the glorification. It is to learn the lessons of history so that we do not repeat them and so that we can rectify the mistakes that we have made as a people. And one of those mistakes that we have made is not understanding the environmental realities of the Western Hemisphere and not understanding how this system, which is not merely racism, is global. And the colonization of the African mind is what we are fighting against. And to recognize that the spirit within us and the spirit within those that we bring into this world will give us the opportunity to change the course of history, just like the brothers and sisters in Haiti. And so, my beloved sister, I thank you again from Sarong Productions. You did a really great job. You worked through. You always give more than you said you were going to give. But I laugh at that. But one thing I want to say, again, do not take people of this ilk for granted. Do not take anyone for granted, because the stories that we tell can save lives. And with that, I give it up to you again, sister. Thank you. I will speak to you, but you rest, you take your water, and know that you've done the ancestral piece of work, that you have awakened those of us who were sleeping and have become too complacent with the world that we live in. Because think about what the sister said. Are we really raising soldiers? And I mean that in a number of different ways, which I won't explain now. But are we raising those people that have an understanding of their ancestral bearing, that recognize that what they need to bring into the world is the essence of the Most High, and to make that essence a living example of who we were as African people, and to bring that into view today, because we must be the manifestation of our ancestors. We must be aware of the character of Dessalines, the character of Toussaint, the character of these beautiful and powerful African sisters that we heard about, so that we can bring them back into this world. And the victory of African liberation will be ours, so that we can show the world what we showed them in the first incarnation. And so I say, thank you. All right, my people, I know we've gone long, but we were strong. So